Hello once again, grain traders. I'm meteorologist Sean Sublette for CropProphet, and it's time for the forecast of the forecast, discussion, and verification for this Monday, July 28th, 2025. This is when we review how the forecast of the forecast from Friday played out on this Monday morning. So we step it back to Friday, and remember, this is the probability from Friday that the ECMWF ensemble mean on Monday morning would go warmer or cooler than normal. So on Friday, there is a fairly dominant signal here across the southeast and extending into the Ohio Valley and parts of the Corn Belt for warmer than normal. And then this very large signal of cooler than normal conditions, let's say 60%, some places 70% probability that the model will come in cooler than normal for the Dakotas and back up into the wheat belt. And overall, that's kind of how the model has come to pass on this Monday morning, really picking up this dominant 4 to 6 degree Fahrenheit below normal signal for the week one forecast of the ECMWF ensemble mean. And of course, the warmer conditions are going to continue for a little bit longer for a lot of the Corn Belt. Of course, the market's not as concerned as they were a couple of weeks ago because the signals continue to come in that the heat is going to be breaking soon. As we go into the 8 to 14 day forecast, that's week two from last Friday. And you had this big area of cooler than normal probabilities, 40% such, from the Great Lakes, northern reaches of Missouri, back across Kansas and Nebraska, and into Montana and the Dakotas. And certainly that's played out across the Dakotas and Montana. Not quite as well performing in other locations. So remember, these are probabilities. These things are not coated in stone, as it were. But it does look like the warmer than normal conditions are going to be returning in the week two forecast, at least from the ECMWF ensemble mean. Regarding precipitation, again, we take the clock back to Friday, the forecast of the forecast, giving the probability that this Monday morning's ECMWF ensemble mean would come in wetter or drier than normal, and the green shades showing a relatively high probability that the model would come in wetter than normal from the Montana Rockies back down into Missouri and into Kansas, and then this drier than normal probability, especially interior Northeast and back into the eastern Great Lakes, and that is certainly panned out in the actual model released this morning across western New York and Pennsylvania and the eastern lakes. And that wetter than normal signal from last Friday shows up very well here in the actual ECMWF ensemble mean from about the Quad Cities through southeastern Minnesota, South Dakota, and certainly back into Montana. Then into the week two forecast, days 8 to 14 from last Friday did not have quite as much signal as we saw in the first week. Remember, if it's in white here, it's not meeting that 40% threshold of probability one way or the other. So we had a couple of these smaller pockets of 40% likelihood the model would come in wetter than normal into Kansas and Missouri. But the larger signal here was across the western part of Texas and the Big Bend, and that was the dry signal, 50 or 60% probability that the model would come in drier there. And that is certainly the way it's played out, not just across that part of Texas, but all of Texas and extending northward into Oklahoma. Again, we did not see as many probabilities one way or the other, beyond that 40% threshold. Although we do begin to see now in the actual ECMWF forecast a wetter than normal likelihood to show up across Montana, the Dakotas, and into the western Great Lakes. And don't forget to mark your calendars. Our next grain market weather webinar is just a couple of weeks away, Wednesday, August 13th at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. Again, the CropProphet August Grain Market Weather Webinar, Wednesday, August 13th. Go to the bit.ly link below, bit.ly/CP August Webinar to sign up. Thanks to everybody who joined us in June and July. We will do it again in a couple of weeks. I'm meteorologist Sean Sublette for CropProphet, and we'll talk to you again on Friday.